Hey guys, it's Banana Cooler back again and doing a video today, which I'm sure will have a lot of comments and opinions. I'm doing my top 10 NFL QBs of all time. There's a lot of opinions on this. There's a lot of great QBs. I didn't add any outside looking ins, just straight up. We're gonna go from 10 to 1, and we'll see how it goes. But first off, thanks everybody for supporting the channel, watching the videos. Make sure you subscribe and like, and like I said, I'm looking for a lot of comments on this one. This is always a controversial topic when we talk about what qualifies someone for being a great quarterback. And unfortunately, as a Falcons fan, there's nobody near the top 10 from my beloved team, but we'll go through the top 10 and hope you enjoy it. Thanks. All right, starting at number 10, and as a Falcons fan, somewhat begrudgingly, I put at number 10, I have Drew Brees, a really great NFL quarterback. Had a long career, a lot of highlights in his career, but was drafted in 2001 by the San Diego Chargers. Ended up, because of potential thoughts that he might, have a career-ending injury, ended up with the New Orleans Saints. Came back in 2005. He had a shoulder injury. Considered a bit undersized too, but he's a great quarterback. Amassed a lot of stats over his career. He had broken several passing records, most career passing yards, and most career pass completions. Many of those against, like I said, my Falcons, and begrudgingly got to put him at number 10. He retired after 20 seasons in 2021. Now a broadcaster, and he did win the Super Bowl in 2009 with the Saints, their only Super Bowl. And like I said, he was a pretty strong quarterback. He was definitely benefited from the era he played in, with a lot of short passing and a lot more focus on the passing game than running game, obviously. That's just eras. It's not his fault that he played in that era, but yeah, Drew Brees, number 10. All right, coming in at number 9, another begrudgingly one. Not a huge fan of this guy, but you can't argue with what he's done. He's been a great quarterback for his entire career, and it's still going. We'll see how he comes back from his injury. But at number 9, we have Aaron Rodgers. He's had a really, really good career. You could say, if you just base on regular season performance, definitely one of the best ever for sure. He did win the Super Bowl and was named MVP with Green Bay. He's been NFL MVP multiple times. Lots of passing records. He is the best touchdown to interception ratio, I think, of any quarterback ever, and the lowest interception percentage multiple times in the season throughout his career. He holds a lot of Green Bay Packers passing records, most career touchdown passes, highest QB rating as a passer. Had some really great seasons as a Packer. For the guy's skill set, and for what he can do on the field, I think the one Super Bowl is a bit of a disappointment. But he's with the Jets now, and we'll see how he does. Got hurt last season, bad Achilles injury, I think, on his fourth play with the Jets. Some might say the Jets are cursed, but definitely a really polarizing guy nowadays with his beliefs and his opinions. But take that aside, fantastic quarterback. Most people would love to have him on their team. He makes any team better. Really good pocket presence, and he's the king of the Hail Mary, so he can drop in that Hail Mary pass for a win at any time. So number 9, Aaron Rodgers. All right, guys, coming in at number 8. This is a tough one. I think he, in my opinion, was on the best Super Bowl team I've ever seen. Super Bowl 29 with the 49ers. Steve Young coming in at number 9. This guy, he was out of BYU, out of college. Then he played in the USFL. Then he played for the Bucks, and that Bucks team, historically bad. That franchise was, kind of a laughing stock in the 80s. But he has had an amazing career. Back up to Joe Montana. Who would want to be the backup to Joe Montana? Arguably one of the greatest quarterbacks ever. But, once 49ers sent Montana away to the Chiefs, Young got his opportunity, and he definitely did a great job with it. Like I said, he was Super Bowl champion, Super Bowl 29. He was the MVP. I believe he had 6 touchdown passes in that game, and it was just a runaway for the 49ers against the undermanned Chargers team in that game. He had been to many Pro Bowls. He went to 7 in a row, I think, and the only 49er ever to do that more was the legendary Jerry Rice. Holds NFL record for most 3 consecutive 300-yard games with 6. Tons of 49ers records. Had the highest quarterback rating on a 49ers team. It's had some, like I said, some pretty good quarterbacks. But the one thing that sets Steve Young apart, and he was groundbreaking with this, was his ability to run the ball. A lot of people think, Michael Vick changed the running game for quarterbacks. You could attribute it to Randall Cunningham. You could attribute it to Steve Young. Steve Young had the ability to get out of the pocket and pick up a first down anytime they needed him to. There's many highlights of Steve Young decimating my Falcons defense. He was an amazing player. But like I said, that sticks out in my mind, that Super Bowl. Such a great team. And in my opinion, begrudgingly, of course, because it's a 49ers team, but the best Super Bowl team ever. The Cowboys had some great teams too. But that team was a monster, and he was the guy running the show on that team. So, like I said, number 8, Steve Young. All right, guys, that leads us to number 7, and at number 7 we have John Elway. So Elway was a quarterback for the Broncos. He's still a GM for them, and he had an amazing career as well. He's taken in probably the most historic quarterback draft ever. He was drafted in 1983 by the Baltimore Colts, and didn't play a down with them. Got traded to the Broncos. But in that draft, you had Elway, Marino, Ken O'Brien, Tony Eason, and Todd Blackledge, all drafted in that draft. So some amazing quarterback talent, some amazing quarterback busts, but a pretty good draft. To be in the same draft, with Marino and Ken O'Brien is amazing. He had a great career. Started off a bit slow, lost some tough games, but always was exciting to watch. Could run the ball, could throw the ball, was a leader on the team, and those Broncos teams were special. Like I said, a few failures before he became a Super Bowl champion, but he won back-to-back Super Bowls, Super Bowl 32 and 33. He was named the MVP of Super Bowl 33. Some great teams with Terrell Davis, and some great defenses as well. 9-time Pro Bowler, He won the MVP of the NFL in 1987. The architect of the drive, one of the most talked about drives in NFL history. In 1986 AFC Championship game against the Cleveland Browns. Just showed you how good this guy was under pressure. Amazing player. And the Broncos have had some pretty good quarterbacks in their time, and he's definitely the top one for that team. He owns a lot of franchise records, touchdowns, passing yards for the Broncos. Just considered a really great leader and the kind of guy that you want to have, leading your team and, running your show during an important game. So, like I said, a great quarterback. His skills in the front office still to be determined, I guess you could say, but definitely a great player. And number 7, John Elway. All right, so number 6 is a guy I never saw play. I've seen every one of these other quarterbacks either in person or on TV play. I never saw him play. Just stories from my dad and also from TV and watching sports and reading about the NFL. Number 6, Johnny Unitas. Baltimore Colts quarterback, played the majority of his career with the Colts. He did lead them to a Super Bowl victory in Super Bowl 5, which seems very long ago, I'm sure. And prior to the Super Bowl era, when before the merger, it was called the NFL Championship. He won with the Colts the NFL Championship in 1958 and 59. He was the MVP many, many times in his career. He was selected to the Pro Bowl 10 times. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1979. He's a very durable guy. And he played in the 1958 NFL Championship game, which I've actually never watched, but considered the greatest game ever played, I guess it's been called. He's like a Colts legend, and has a very impressive career. Definitely played in the time where you didn't pass the ball quite as much as you do now. So statistically, he probably wouldn't match up, but his name recognition and his career speak for themselves. So number 6, Johnny Unitas. All right, halfway home. That brings us to number 5. Probably my favorite quarterback that I ever watched, still to this day. The great Dan Marino at number 5. Marino will always live with that. He didn't win a Super Bowl. You can't be considered one of the greatest quarterbacks ever if he didn't win a Super Bowl. But Marino changed the game. Marino had the quickest release I've ever seen, still to this day. He was amazing. Played for the Dolphins and, played his whole career for the Dolphins. So not a lot of guys can say that, especially after the, free agency era. Such a historically great and statistically great career. Marino had great weapons, Super Mark Duper and Mark Clayton, the Marx brothers, some great receivers. But the one thing Marino never had was a running game. I think in his entire career, they had one 1,000-yard rusher, which I believe was Sammy Smith for the Dolphins. So never had that. Everybody knew he was going to pass. Everybody knew in a important situation he was going to throw the ball. At the time set a lot of rookie records for completions, touchdown passes, passing yards. He was drafted in 83 in that historic QB draft we had talked about earlier with Elway, drafted out of Pitt. Amazing quarterback, 9-time Pro Bowler, and like I said, his release, you'd never seen anything like it. He'd drop back, the ball was gone every time. It's hard to get him, hard to sack him, hard to get to him. Won the probably had the best, um, you know, second year of any quarterback ever. He broke the touchdown passing record, went to the Super Bowl again, his only Super Bowl against the Niners that year. Came up short. What a great team though, Montana-led Niners. But his 1984 season, he was the first quarterback to ever throw for 5,000 yards and set the record, which stood up for a long, long time for most passing touchdowns in a season, only to be broken later in a different era where, the ball is thrown a lot more, a lot less emphasis on rushing, which is funny because Marino could have played and would have been amazing in that era, because he was basically doing that in an era where it was important to have a running back. So, he was a Hall of Fame inductee in 2005. He holds a ton of Dolphins franchise records, passing yards, touchdowns, played 17 seasons in the NFL. And like I said, just generationally great player. And the only thing missing, he'd be higher up the list and higher up on everyone's list if he managed to win a Super Bowl. But we hold that against guys that don't win one. But Marino is the exception to that rule. A phenomenal guy to watch, amazing playmaker, and like I said, that quick release is historically fast. And he changed the game, and that's why he's at number 5. All right, up to number 4, and in number 4, in the 4th spot, we have Payton Manning, the Sheriff. What a great, what a great career for Payton. Coming from, a quarterback family. His dad, Archie Manning, was a great quarterback that ended up playing for the Saints when they were absolute garbage, and had a long NFL career. But Payton, was an amazing player, drafted number 1 overall by the Colts. And it's funny when you think back on it, because people talk about, should they have drafted him or should they have drafted Ryan Leaf? And it was such a big thing. It was them and the Chargers had the second pick, and it was up in the air. And, we don't know how that turned out. Leaf didn't pan out for the Chargers, and Payton had a historic NFL career. He won the Super Bowl with the Colts. Then, due to injuries and stuff, he went to the Broncos and won a Super Bowl 50 with the Broncos. Some people have said that they won the Super Bowl in spite of him. Wasn't at his best, definitely due to injuries, but did win the Super Bowl with the Broncos as well. He won the NFL MVP award 5 times, which is amazing. I don't think anyone's ever won it more times than that. Holds a ton of records. Most passing yards in a season. Won comeback player of the year after his neck injury in 2011 when he, like I said, when he came back with the Broncos. Inducted into the Hall of Fame. So many statistics, but the thing about Payton Manning was he's basically your quarterback, and early in his career he was also started to become the offensive coordinator, a great leader, would always run the show for teams and for his team, and like I said, he's basically our offensive coordinator. He revolutionized calling plays and audibling at the line of scrimmage. Everybody knows Omaha, right? And just an amazing player, great to watch. One of those guys that's, you wonder what his career would have been if he wasn't having to play Tom Brady all the time in the playoffs. But still a phenomenal quarterback, great work ethic, probably the smartest quarterback I ever saw play the game. You wonder why he hasn't gotten into coaching, but it's probably because he's doing so well off the field. He's a great personality, really likable guy, and really smart businessman. So, yeah. All right, guys, we've reached the top three. And who's coming in at number three, you ask? Well, it's Joe Cool, Joe Montana, legendary Joe Montana, San Francisco 49ers quarterback. Um, what can you say about this guy? I mean, I will say he had some pretty good players around him, but are they that good of players if he's not around them? The best wide receiver in NFL history, Jerry Rice. But he was doing it before then. 4 Super Bowl victories speaks for itself. He was named the MVP in 3 of those 4. He won the NFL MVP award in 89 and 90. Was selected to the Pro Bowl 8 times. Was on the the 1980s All-Decade team. Inducted in the Hall of Fame in 2000. And the thing about Joe, and the reason why they called him Joe Cool, is had to come back in a lot of games, and is historically known at he threw the catch, and just always came up clutch. A great leader. There's the story of him in the Super Bowl, and they have to come back against, I believe it was the Bengals, and everyone's nervous. It's like there's not a lot of time left on the clock, a lot of pressure. It's the Super Bowl, and he's in the huddle, and guys are not panicking, but the story goes that there's a lot of guys nervous, and he's super calm, and he says, "Hey guys, look who's up there in the stands. It's John Candy." And everyone's mind's blown because they're like, yeah, like the game's on the line. There's so much pressure, and you're kind of goofing around in the huddle, and just such a great guy. 31 fourth quarter comebacks in his career. I think it speaks for itself. Like I said, on some great teams, had Roger Craig, Jerry Rice, Dwight Clark, a lot of great players. But no one better than him on those teams, and to win 4 Super Bowls and be named MVP in 3 of them is huge. Historically good quarterback, like I said. A lot of people probably have him number 1 or 2, but I have him third. So Joe Montana, number 3. Here we are, down to the final 2, and this is probably going to be the most controversial one of all, of my top 10 list of all-time greatest NFL QBs. Number 2, I have Patrick Mahomes. And before you freak out about Patrick Mahomes already being at number 2, let me just quickly make a side note. And I just want to leave you with this name, Mitch Trubisky. Mitch Trubisky. Mitch Trubisky was drafted ahead of Patrick Mahomes. So anyone that tells you that scouting is right and we know anything about these guys and who's going to be great and who's not going to be great does not know what they're talking about if Mitch Trubisky was drafted ahead of Patrick Mahomes. Anyways, I digress. I have Mahomes at number 2. Not a real big Mahomes fan, I would say. Fan of what he does. But you can't argue with what this guy's done. His career's still unfolding. And maybe to put him at number 2, people think it's a little bit too high, too soon. But, I mean, the guy he just wins. No matter who's on his team, no matter what supporting cast he has. I mean, he won the Super Bowl. The most recent Super Bowl, has won Super Bowls. He was named the MVP of Super Bowl, won the NFL MVP in his first year as a starter in 2018. Was drafted 10th overall, like I said. Mitchell Trubisky was drafted ahead of him. Set a ton of records. First fastest quarterback to reach 10,000 passing yard. The most touchdown passes in the first 3 NFL seasons. Is creative on the field. You can't deny that. He's creative. He's always finding a way to get the ball to an open receiver, no matter who his receivers are. And historically, once they got rid of Tyreek Hill, everyone thought, maybe he won't be as good. And they haven't missed a beat. The Chiefs are a legitimate, great team. He has Travis Kelce, yes, definitely future Hall of Fame tight end, but you can't argue with what he's done. This is a team that could be down by 21 points in the playoffs, and you're thinking to yourself, well, they're going to come back and win, and they do. His career is still unfolding. Great arm strength, great accuracy, and like I said, a solid playmaker. The future is bright for him, and I still just heading into his prime right now, and I have him at number 2 because of what he's done already. And you can't argue with what he's done already. You could maybe argue that it's too high to be number 2, but just a phenomenal player, and every single person would love to have this guy as their quarterback. You game changing, and like I said, calm under pressure, and already has Super Bowl rings to back it up. So number 2, Patrick Mahomes. Hey guys, we've found our way to number 1. The number 1 quarterback, according to Banana Cooler, of all time in NFL history is, not surprisingly, Tom Brady. So let's get this out of the way quick. A Falcons fan talking about Tom Brady. I would like to thank Mike Shanahan for the lifetime scar he left on us, being up 28-3, and being so smart that he outsmarted everyone by not running the clock and not running the ball. But I digress. Tom Brady, the greatest ever to do it. 7 Super Bowl victories. 7. The most of any player in any position. MVP numerous times. Pro Bowl selection numerous times. Holds the record for most passing yards, most passing TDs. A lot of great comeback victories like I mentioned earlier. One stands out to most people, I think, too, but had a lot of great comebacks in his career. Definitely has a will to win, a guy that you want on your team, and can improve that by leaving the Patriots. Was it Bill Belichick? Was it Tom Brady, who was the architect of the great New England teams? I think it's still up for debate. Belichick, pretty smart guy, ran a great team there. But I think most people would lean to Brady. He went to the Tampa Bay Bucks and won a Super Bowl with them as well. Let's not forget he was drafted 199th in the NFL draft. Counted out. Wasn't exactly a physical specimen at the combine, but has developed himself over the years. The guy just wants to win. He wants to win at everything he does. He's going to be going into broadcasting now, so we'll see he does at that. I feel like he'll be playing football again this year by the end of the season, but that's just me. But he's put together. You could actually say that he's put together 3 Hall of Fame careers in one career, and no one else can lay claim to that. I mean, I think it's inarguable at this point that Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback in NFL history. If you think differently, please let me know in the comments. But number 1 with a bullet is going to be remembered no matter what happens, and no matter how the game changes, no matter records broken, statistics. Like Patrick Mahomes could catch him in statistically. I think it's going to be difficult for anyone to catch 7 Super Bowl rings. But I guess we'll see. Records are made to be broken. But he had a great career over 2 decades, and I think he'll be remembered for his work ethic too, and how much he wanted to win, and how he made guys on his team better. Really only had 1 superstar wide receiver, and that was for 1 year when he was with New England. Randy Moss, That was the year he threw his most touchdown passes, which isn't a coincidence. But, a lot of times the supporting cast at wide receiver wasn't spectacular. Made a lot of wide receivers look good. You wonder what would have happened if he had Mike Evans like he did in the year he won the Super Bowl with the Bucks for his whole career. But you can't argue with what he's done. You can't argue with his legacy, and you can argue with my list though. So if you want to, make sure you leave comments. Please like and subscribe, and we'll be back with another video soon. Top 10 QBs of all time. Do your best. Hey guys, just wanted to add an addendum to the video. It was actually Kyle Shanahan, not Mike Shanahan, his father, that scarred Falcons fans for life. So, thanks a lot, buddy.